Hey guys, guess what? We just had another amazing show with Real Estate Uncensored. We have Cole Klein. He came in fucking crushed skulls in regards to information about insurance and properties and just really looking at the nuances. My favorite takeaway was minute 37. So you guys got to stay tuned to minute 37. Alyssa Glutz, Miss Color My Credit. How are you, girl?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. A great show. Love learning the things that nobody knows. That's my favorite, is like to learn what is in the small print and why you have to have a public adjuster like Cole on your team. It's essential these days. It's kind of how you prepare, is how you're gonna do in life. So I'm excited. It's a great show, though. We have a great conversation.
Yeah, we really did have a great conversation with Cole, but guess what, guys? We have the man of the hour here with us right now. Get Cole, give us a couple of thoughts so that folks can look forward to our conversation that we just had.
Well, guys, this is such a detailed topic to dive into, from pre-loss risk management, reviewing your insurance policies, what issues can arise, and who the best insurance companies are to go with. So we appreciate the opportunity. I loved talking to you guys about this.
Dude, you knocked it out of the freaking park. So you know what? Let's do this, guys. Let's us stop talking. Let's bring Cole to the forefront. Here you guys go. Enjoy the show. Hey guys, welcome back to Real Estate Uncensored. We got an amazing show today. I have Cole Klein from the Hope Republic Adjusters. This guy is going to knock your freaking socks off on insurance. He's going to help you understand some very intentional things you need to pay attention to. I'm not even going to steal the show. I'm going to let him tell you everything. He and Alyssa are going to knock your bananas off. And Alyssa, this is something that you really attuned to. I mean, this is kind of your jam, yeah?
I don't know what it is about me. I know that this stuff just makes me so interesting. But yeah, the things I get real excited about lately are like credit score algorithms and home insurance. That's my life as 46-year-old. So that's okay. I cold plunge. No, I'm just kidding. I don't cold plunge. We were just talking about the cold plunge. But I am really excited to hear about Cold Cole. That's your new name for me. Cold Cole is going to really break down some good information for us today. The stuff that interests me is the stuff that I feel we don't talk about enough. And, you find out 5 years later that you shouldn't have had that 2-month lapse of insurance because now you're paying for it. I don't like finding stuff out after the fact. So I'm pretty much any area we can find where there's some holes in there. There's some stuff that's like, give me the goods. I'm fascinated with. So,
well, that's why we have Cole with us today. He's going to be breaking it down. He's going to be really going deep. We have 10 points we're going to be going over, if not more, if not less. We're going to kind of see what the conversation goes. But I'm super excited. So, Cole, welcome to the show, brother. I'm so excited to have you here.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks. And listen, we're really going to jive. We get pretty nerdy into insurance claims. This is really just what we live in. So I'm really excited to take this dive and just really explore some key points for property investors to be aware of. And a lot of these are just may seem a little bit of common sense, but some things that you just don't know what you don't know. And so we'd like to bring those to the forefront. But yeah, I appreciate the introduction. My name's Cole Klein. I'm a public insurance adjuster. We work in an industry where a lot of people or building owners, property investors don't actually know that we exist until they need us. So probably 95% of our clients that retain.
So wait. Back that up a little bit for half a second. Walk me through very quickly as a layman, right? Why do people not know about you, and why should we know about you?
Yeah, that's a great question. One of the biggest hurdles for us is just consumers being aware that we are a resource. We are, in a sense, like private adjusters. The term public adjusters is kind of a misnomer. We work for homeowners, property owners, commercial building owners, businesses. We specialize in like business interruption type losses. But we are a resource for investors, building owners, homeowners, when they suffer an insurance claim and really just need help through the process. So we give you an example of the types of situations where we might assist would be a fire damage insurance claim where either the consumer doesn't know just what the next steps are. It's a really confusing process. You got property damage, personal property damage, all these contractors, potentially like business interruption from loss of rent. So we'd assist with that, or the insurance company undervalues or underpays the claim, and we would come in to assist with the negotiations of the insurance claim settlement to get a reasonable and legitimate payout to resolve the dispute with the insurance company. And then we also do some other things like we help a lot of investors with like portfolio risk management, reviewing their policies, making sure they have applicable coverage, and that kind of thing. So
what kind of the first thing that comes to mind is, how much do you cost? Because is it something to where you get your information back after filing a claim and you just, something doesn't feel right? You know what I'm saying? Like, this seems like it would have been more. I'm just trying to think of, how do people eventually get led to you? Is it a big do you use a lot of marketing? Do you reach out to people do you get leads lists like the minute somebody files a claim that you guys reach out to?
That would be really nice if that existed. We would sign up right away. No, we don't. So that's one of the biggest things for us, is letting people just know that we are a resource. A lot of times we get plugged in to the building owner from contractors or insurance agents and brokers. Will kind of plug us into the process. And when people know that we're not right for every insurance claim. Some are just super smooth and easy and it goes well. And then others, it's just a confusing process. The person may just not want to handle it. It's, can be a full-time job that you inherit. So that's part of it. And then the other part is when you hit the brick wall, not all everybody, it's all people. So people make mistakes, and sometimes you get an adjuster that woke up on the wrong side of the bed, and you just need some help with the process. So
do you get paid? I'm sorry to interrupt, but do you get paid as like a percentage of the amount that you get them? I'm thinking.
Yeah. So public adjusters operate differently. Some of that depends on what area of the country you're in. Louisiana, typically it's an hourly rate. In most of the rest of the country, it's a contingency fee ranging anywhere from typically 10 to 20-25% of the claim proceeds, depending on the complexity of how complex is your damage.
So let me ask you this question really quickly. I know we're going to jump into 10 bullet points, right? We're going to go through this stuff really quickly. I know there's nuances in every state. There's nuances in every deal. I mean, I've been doing real estate for 25 years at this point, which is fucking insane to actually say that number. When it comes to the bullet points for the clientele, let's walk through these bullet points for new property investors. Where would you like to start? And Alyssa, I want you to take the lead because you are way more versed on this than I am. And I'm just going to sit here and have fun and hang out with you guys.
Okay. So question one, Cole, can you start by explaining the importance of risk management for new property investors? Why do we need to assess that?
Yeah, I think that the subject of risk management, you kind of made a joke when we started that, and I agree. We nerd out on this subject in general. This is our area of expertise, and we just find it so interesting. But for the majority, that's really not the case. And frankly, it's just may not be the sexiest of topics, but it is part of portfolio management that, if not attended to, claims or losses, fire damage, water damage, they have the potential to financially just sink investors, and especially newer investors that are getting into the process and the game, and starting to put money into these properties. And this is so common with investors getting into the market and just not knowing or being unaware of these really important parts of investing and portfolio management. So good risk management should include risk assessment. What risk do you have, essentially? Pre-loss.
And what are some of the biggest ones you see?
Some of the biggest claims that we see.
Or the biggest ones that you would go, oh, huge red flag. If we were dating, I would go, okay, that's a red flag right there. Like, what are those things that when you see a property, you know that that's going to carry a higher risk?
Yeah, and a lot of them have to do with the coverage that you carry, and just being super reliant on insurance agents or brokers, and taking your hands completely as an investor completely out of the process, and really not understanding. Basically looking at coverage as like, oh, cool, I called my insurance agent and he's got me taken care of, I'm good.
So hold on. For the layman's in the audience, and I'm talking about me, okay? Coverage. Isn't all coverage the same?
Yeah, and that's a great question. It's not. And there's so much that goes into an insurance policy, from the your deductible, which is the amount of money that you're responsible for anytime you file a claim. So say that you had a claim on a rental property. You may have a deductible that is $1,000, $5,000, or a percentage. And a problem that we run into.
What do you mean? What do you mean a percentage? Because I mean, my health insurance. I went to the hospital last year, and I was in the hospital for 4 or 5 days. I was in bad shape for different reasons, and my coverage and my policy monthly amount was $663. Now it's $754. How did that adjust because I made a claim? Does that have an effect on this whole process?
Yeah, so separate and different from your deductible. When you file a claim, you're responsible for a portion of the loss. It's how insurance companies kind of hold people accountable. They don't want people filing claims for everything. So if you're you got a stake in it, it's your deductible. You asked about the percentage, and a common misnomer is that the percentage is a percentage of the payout of the claim, and it's not true. It's a percentage of the total value of the property. So some policies on the front page have like a 1% or 2% or 5% deductible. And we've ran into some major issues with these where commercial building owners or just property owners didn't know that they had a percentage deductible. They file the claim and then all of it is absorbed by their deductible. It's basically they're out of pocket and didn't need to file a claim. So
that's an important point. I want to just stop you there because that's why can they contact you before they've ever even made a claim? Don't you think that would be if I was thinking about making a claim, don't you think you would be a good resource for me to reach out to? Or do you have to kind of have a claim to start with and details, you know what I'm saying, before you can, I would just want to know, should I go ahead and make a claim on this, or what's it going to do to what I'm going to pay for the next 5 years,
Yeah. And that's a great point. So yes, we have a lot of property investors that reach out to us that either get under like master service agreements or really just ask for help for us to review their insurance policy. Some of our clients have like 450 properties in their portfolio, but others have 1 or 2. Wow. And so we will review those, and we're happy to pick out just common issues of, oh, hey, red flag. But a lot of it, people have the tools and relationships already with their insurance brokers or agents. It's just taking the time to, schedule an hour to call your broker and ask him, what does this mean? Actually go through the document. It's typically in legal terms. So understanding the different parts of it can be a challenge. So seeking professional assistance is it's helpful. And then
so it's more helpful to go to your personal agent, like to start there, because a lot of people think that if you go to your insurance agent was something that they have this obligation to go back and mention it. You know what I'm saying? Where if I just called up the claims office, like, do you think I should do this? That's not the person to call. That's probably not, they're going to probably mark it in the book. And, and so there's a lot of people that don't understand who they can talk to and who they can't. You know what I'm saying? To fully get a picture.
I think as an investor in properties, it's important to understand the difference between insurance agents and insurance brokers. And typically, insurance agents are captive, meaning they work for one insurance company. And some of them are really great, but their obligation is to the insurance company they're selling their product, where a broker is independent. They sell for multiple insurance companies, and their obligation is more crafted or more shifted towards the consumer. They want to find the best product for that consumer. So finding a good broker or agent, if it's a good fit for you,
is going to be a key piece.
Yeah,
that's going to be such a.
Yeah.
You feel more people are starting to look more towards brokers. Do you tend to work with more brokers or more with the bigger companies?
We see a lot of our clients working with brokers. For that reason, they just have options. And if there is issues with the claim or they get non-renewed, they have a claim that's elongating, they don't want to carry on with that insurance company, it gives them options to talk with their agent and say, hey, can you shop around and find me a better resource?
That's awesome. Okay, so let's talk about this part. Beyond insurance, what other strategies can new investors use to mitigate risks? And that might follow right into some of the stories you have personally, where you've, something that a live and learn, kind of any of those you can think of?
Yeah, I think some of the common risks associated with property investments that investors should be aware of. The biggest that I mentioned was understanding deductibles, making sure that you check out what your deductible is. If it's percentage deductible, usually those are bad. Or higher deductibles. We do see that that investors with larger portfolios tend to have higher deductibles, and investors with smaller portfolios do tend to have smaller deductibles. I can talk about that a little bit. And then also looking at what other endorsements or exclusions apply to insurance policies. So some common ones that people aren't aware of, consumers aren't aware of, but they create huge problems.
I'm writing these down because I got to know these ones. Okay.
Are wind and hail deductibles. So like I said, the deductible is what the consumer is responsible for, or exclusions. So in an insurance policy, there's typically the last part of the policy, you'll have or a section of your policy, you'll have a list of exclusions, things that we don't cover, the insurance company doesn't cover. And those can be for cosmetic damage or just complete exclusions. And we've seen like wind damage not covered under policies. We had a Quality Inn that we worked on in southern Indiana, and they had a wind damage exclusion, and they had straight line winds that came through, and it ripped off the entire roof system of the structure, and 3 stories of rooms got wet because it rained for a few days after.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so it's a big deal, and they weren't aware that they had a wind damage exclusion in their policy. And it was the first time we had ever seen it, but they do exist. So that would be just taking a look at would be step 1, taking a look at your insurance policy, understanding your limits, exclusions, and finding the resources to.
Wait, they literally have a wind disclosure policy?
Yeah.
Yeah, wind.
Like if you live in Florida, you're more apt to pay higher premiums versus, I don't know, California, which we don't get a lot of wind out here. But I mean, that's literally a thing.
Yeah, you'd be amazed. And a lot of these aren't listed in the. It'll say just a section in your declarations page. So unless you're actually reading your policy, you're not
going to miss it.
You're going to miss it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's the funny thing. My girlfriend, she's in the medical field, And when it comes to reading details, right? Her ex-employer tried to screw her out of her money that she put into her 401k. And they're like, oh, well, you know what? You just didn't do this, didn't do that. She went through it with a fine-tooth comb. She found one sentence that got her money, and she sent it to the attorneys, sent it, everything else. She got her cash back. And it goes to your point, Cole, is that reading the details, the old cliche, the devil's in the details, right? And so you got to understand, not the marketing campaign that people are putting out there, not the cool banners. It's the what the fuck is going to happen when shit hits the fucking fan. Mm-hmm. What are you liable for? What is the biggest thing you should, as an investor and a consumer, what's the number one thing you see people getting screwed over on?
Number one thing that we see investors getting screwed over on, or just running into consistent issues, would be, I think, underinsurance on properties. There's something called a co-insurance penalty. It's really technical math equation. And so for commercial properties, so including rental properties, a co-insurance penalty can apply. So what is a co-insurance penalty? Basically, a property has to be insured up to a certain percentage of the value of the property. So an example, you can have an 80%, 90%, or 100% co-insurance penalty. We always suggest that the building owner have an 80%. You really don't want 100, and I'll explain why and what that is. So with co-insurance penalties, say that the value of your property is $100,000.
Okay.
And you hold $80,000 of insurance on the property. If you have an 80% co-insurance penalty, you're considered fully insured. So up to 80% of the property. However, if you have 100% co-insurance penalty on your policy, and you're insured up to $100,000, but your property value, it's valued at $100,000, but over the course of the policy, your property increases in value. It's now worth $120,000, but you didn't assess the difference, so now you're underinsured. You could have a claim for not at your policy limits, just like $30,000 claim. And the insurance company could implement a co-insurance penalty where they decrease your payment by a percentage of the pay. So you end up with $2,000 instead of $30,000. Again, not exact math, but those are really big issues, are underinsurance. And a lot of the time, the building owner doesn't pick the number that it's insured for. The agent does.
Really? So when you're saying underinsured, can somebody, obviously they could get more insurance, and that's probably going to go more about the fact that so many homes have gone up in value the last few years, but they got their insurance set up at a time when it was worth less. But I mean, what about an umbrella policy? Are certain policies like that? Can that help?
Yeah, you can get more than enough insurance, and that's easy to do. You can talk to an agent about how much insurance you think you need, what the property's valued at. That's literally the agent's or the broker's job, is to value the property.
To sit down and make sure you got enough, or do the flood, even if you aren't in a flood zone, maybe adding on a flood policy, still.
Making sure that you have enough coverage and reading your policy. It gets back to reading your policy with, you wouldn't know that you had a co-insurance penalty or what a co-insurance penalty was. The percentage is listed on the front of your policy, but understanding how it affects, and it's a big deal. It's a really big deal when you have a fire loss and you don't get the full payout. We've ran into it a lot, and those calculations or positions against the insurance company to argue those calculations is it's a process.
There was somebody recently. I'm just going to say this really quick because I want to stay on the questions here. But there was one person in Washington who just recently in the kind of Gig Harbor area had the the big floods, right? And there was a lady who went on who said basically that because the water was basically tearing at her foundation and everything, but it never actually made it into the house, they didn't cover it. FEMA didn't cover it.
What?
The insurance didn't cover it. I mean, they really had nowhere to go with it. No help at all. Do you see that? I mean, that again, that's probably going to go back to underinsured.
It's kind of. It's black and white. The insurance policy is very transactional. And Greg, you had mentioned the details. We have a claim currently that it's coming down to whether the word was in italics or not in the policy and whether it had a special meaning. So the details really matter. And I think in those situations, Alyssa, each claim is different. Each policy is different. Each policy and its coverage is different. And I think reaching out to a public adjuster, or if you're in the claims process, or an expert that is familiar with insurance policies can really make the difference. Can really make the difference there of whether coverage should be afforded or not.
So as just an average dude, man, who likes to drink beer, hang out, go to the pool, do cold plunges, the weird shit in life, right? How in the fuck am I supposed to know this shit?
Yeah.
Well, why you create the good team. I'm answering for Cole, right? Yeah. You got to put the right team together at the beginning.
I don't think you would. The average person would not know these things. I think that the average person can read an insurance policy. There's still a learning curve to
go to sleep as they do it.
Yeah, I mean it's technical,
Okay.
And we're talking about getting down to like if a word is in italics and if it's a defined word in the policy. And
what kind of pronouns do you have? Because I mean it's an italic. So what kind of pronouns does it have?
Yeah.
It's a joke. It's a joke, motherfuckers. Just relax. But reality, when it comes down to the details and shit, and when shit gets weird, and I'm being really serious. I mean, I do make jokes and I have fun and everything else. But honestly, how is someone like myself, ultimately, how do we understand that? How do we navigate through that? And Alyssa, you go back to making the right team around you. And I want you to go deeper on that subject matter, because I think it's really true. I mean, in anything in life, in my experience as being a human for 45 years, is that you can know a lot of stuff, but you don't know everything.
No
So
way.
you need, if you're gonna do an adventure like get into real estate investing, or get a loan or whatever, you gotta have the people that really talk truth to you. So Alyssa, describe to us what a team around you looks like, and how do you define them? And then Cole, I want you to describe, in your mindset, in your industry, how do you protect against the institutions that are just literally trying to take cash out of your pocket and just going like, well, you signed the policy, fucker. There it is.
Yeah.
That's not cool. I don't like that at all. So Alyssa, the floor is yours.
So as far as your money goes, this seems rehearsed, but I'm a strong believer in building your financial dream team. So those are going to be professionals that are in the areas of 7 areas: budget, credit, taxes, insurance, home, retirement, legacy. When I say legacy, I mean estate attorney, your trust, but those 7 areas are so key to building this financial legacy, this empire, that if you have just a couple professionals in those areas, that not only do you rely on them, you've monitored, you've followed them, you trust them, you also are loyal to them. You refer people to them. That's how deep it goes, then you'll see that they're going to be the type of people that will always give back. I mean, I hate to say it, but you hand a little $20 to the extra, to the valet guy. He's going to make sure your car's right up front, So this is that power of like not having to pay people, but to really seek it out, like ask questions. Don't just go off of your mom and dad saying, yeah, our real estate agent's wonderful. Our lender was great. Well, everybody has their own experience.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I am awesome. Thank you.
But by knowing that you have these resources around you and that you take care of them You send them people, you trust them, you stay loyal to them, and then you ask of them. You need to ask questions. You need to say, what's 5 things that you learned in 2023 in your industry that I wouldn't know? I've been having a lot of those conversations this last week, just with those gurus in those areas, because it's amazing when you're hyper focused in your industry. I could tell you right now 5 things that everybody needs to know that nobody would know if they're not in the mortgage industry, not in the real estate industry, if they're not in the insurance. But yeah, that's what I mean about using those 7 categories to really seek out professionals in those areas that you can give and take from. That's my advice.
Yeah, and I think everybody's paying down. I mean, everybody in any industry, in any role, you're always paying down the learning tax of just trying to overcome what you don't know to get to the next level. And it's not required for you to know everything or to learn everything. And I think leveraging or pulling these levers that are at your disposal, bringing in experts, for public adjusters, we work on a contingency fee, so it's not like it comes out of the pocket of, and just using these tools at your disposal, I think make a really big impact. Where we see success with building a team with investors, a lot of times it's and investors are they range, whether you're one man show and you're wearing all of the hats, or you've got a team and you're using property managers and just making sure that they're equipped and have a process around when damage occurs. You have a busted water pipe or a fire, there's an arson, vehicle runs through the building. Having a plan in place. Who's the contractor you're going to call? Is there a water mitigation expert? Do you have business, personal property? Where's that going to go? And is there a contractor that's going to help? Do you have a relationship with your public adjuster? And does your property manager have your agent's number and authority to file the claim? So getting a written process to these things can make a big difference. And it's not an issue until it's an issue, but then it's an issue.
The written process, though, the stress of you have already been through, what happened to all our fire drills, Greg, back in high school? We used to have.
You mean the ones when we had to get under our desk because there was an earthquake? Because that's going to save us. And the fire drill, go single file and just go out in one line instead of scattering and just getting the blank.
It was always the time when I would find my new boyfriend. I'd be like, fire drill time. I'd be out there. Where's Billy?
She's had so many boyfriends. It's not even funny.
Little boy crazy. But I do think that everything in life, look what happened with Fidelity Title and First American Title. If every title company in town isn't creating their own fire drill right now for a cyber attack, for each other, for identity theft fire drills. I mean, we need to do what are we going to do in an emergency? What are you going to do when you leave your wallet underneath the seat in your rental car like I did this summer? I mean, what are you going to do?
You did.
But I snapped fast. I didn't stress because I locked my cards in 2 seconds. My credit was frozen. No one was stealing anything. But are you prepared? Like, that's the question you need to ask yourself in 2024. Are you prepared? Yeah,
you are. And Cole, I want to go back to you really quickly. Alyssa made an amazing point right there. And I want to understand in the insurance game, how do you do what Alyssa did when she lost her credit card? Well, she didn't lose it. She just left it underneath a car seat. And it sucked, but she recovered. She's fine. But how does somebody who doesn't know how to do that, how do they do that in their investments in real estate? How do they ensure the money they put in? Because a lot of folks, they're like, oh, you know what? Everything is linear. I mean, everything is like A to B, black is white, blah, blah, blah. And that's just not how life is. Everything is malleable. Everything. I mean, everything. So how do you prevent that as much as you can in the insurance world?
Yeah, I think that there's a certain extent that you can prepare for when a loss occurs. There's so many things that you just wouldn't know. What we run into is there's parts of insurance policies that sound good. There's something called like a roof surface endorsement. right? And it sounds like, oh, cool, I might have more coverage on my roof, but it's the exact opposite. And
What?
so in a roof surface endorsement, it limits the amount of payout from the
So
insurance.
it's a cap, right? They're basically putting a cap on what they're going to pay out.
The older your roof is, so there's most insurance policies are replacement cost value or actual cash value policy. So what does that mean? Replacement cost value means that if you sustain damage and it costs $10,000 to make the repair, you will end up with $10,000 to fix the problem from the insurance company. They're going to pay you $10,000 minus your deductible from the equation. But if you have an actual cash value policy, meaning you don't have replacement cost value benefits, then you're only getting a portion of the money. It's depreciated, right? So if you have a $10,000 loss, you may only get $6,000, but you get to choose that when you sign up. The problem with something like a roof surface endorsement is you might pay for a replacement cost value policy all the money, but because you have the roof surface endorsement, depending on the age of your roof, the insurance company decreases your payment on a percentage basis, depending on how old it is. So $10,000 roof, you have a 16-year-old roof that may last, 30 years or 20 years. You may only get 40% of what you should get. And so these are issues that we run into that are easy to find if you review your policy and look at it.
If you know what you're looking for, right?
If you know what you're looking for. But because on the declarations page, it just says roof surface endorsement.
It sounds pretty. Yeah. People go right past it.
So your question was, how do you set yourself up for success when a loss occurs? And most of that happens in the preparation stage of the process, or the pre-loss work that you put into being set up for success. You're not going to do it after the fact. After you have a claim, it's too late. You're stuck with what you're stuck with, and you can, you work with it.
One of my ice maker, my ice maker, which I really freaking liked, decided to fail. Worked fine when I had the policy. When I have a policy, it fails, and I call them all like, that was a pre-existing condition because you told us about it. I mean, is that how this works? Honestly, because I really fucking love that ice machine. And because it was working fine and now it's not working, are you telling me that's the same with roofs, the houses, the housing, the insurance industry? I mean, if you utter a syllable to an insurance agent, that is it null and void? I mean, how do you protect yourself? I mean, this sounds ridiculous. And I'm sitting here leaning back with my arms crossed because I'm honestly getting kind of pissed off.
You're like, I need to look at my policy. Yeah.
It's ridiculous, Cakes, and I would just like you to understand, like help me understand, because I give insurance policies, I give home warranty policies, and it's not the same difference. I understand that, but I give something I thought would protect people, but if they don't read the fine fucking print,
and you don't have a rider, and you don't have an additional something for that. You can go along in life blindly, right? And just think that, I'm covered. It feels good inside.
Some insurance companies are better than others. Some of them are cyclical, but some insurance companies just have more coverage and better policies. And I'll give you an example of that. So with State Farm insurance company, which is, they advertise more than anybody. But we find their policies are the most restrictive policies we run into. And they offer the least amount of, they have the least amount of tools in the policy for the insured to advocate for themselves, essentially. So an example of that, a lot of insurance policies have a clause called an appraisal clause, which is different than a real estate appraisal. An appraisal clause in insurance would be similar to like an informal mediation the insurance company and the insured, the building owner, would both hire an appraiser, and those two appraisers choose an umpire, and two members of this three-party panel come to an agreement. And it's, it's an escalation method that most insurance policies allow for. State Farm has the appraisal clause in their policy, but it's very different. Most appraisal clauses are a paragraph in most policies. State Farm's is 2 pages and really doesn't allow you to get into that process. It allows them to kind of pick and choose what parts of their parts of their estimate get into appraisal, what parts don't. So it creates issues with that. So choosing the right insurance company, asking for recommendations, can really.
But here's the question: what you said, the word insurance in vernacular, that means security, right? So if you say, like, I'm going to insure you, I'm going to save you, I'm going to be there as a backup
to be made whole.
But now, because you didn't screw the screw in on that one panel, on that one room to the right, tension, you're out of luck. How is, I mean, I'm not beating on you for the industry.
No, yeah,
I'm just baffled about what the fuck are you talking about? Because if I go and I say, oh my God, my house is burning down, the fire department is not going to come over and be like, oh yeah, that looks like you did it. We're not going to save you. How is that different? I mean, I understand it's a for-profit industry. I totally freaking get it. I totally get that. And I'm fine. I love people making money in an honest way, but in the industry that we're talking about, is there a justification for saying yes you can or no you can't based upon did you read or did you not read? Are you smart or are you not smart? How is that a justification for accepting or denying a claim?
There's a lot of things that property owners can do to be proactive that are within their skill set or ability to help set them up for success in the claims process. One of the biggest ones would be pre-loss documentation before damage occurs for every property.
But nobody knows about that. Where can they find that?
Right here.
Yeah, right here.
We're selling them.
God, you too.
No, I know.
Oh my goodness.
Other than that, honestly, when you think about anything in life, I mean, going to get a mortgage, there's a million questions behind it that it's not every lender is going to have, and not, you know what I mean?
If you don't know, then you run into issues. And these are the problems we run into on a regular occurrence, almost every claim. The ones that are easier for us are the ones where investors took photos of the exterior, the roof, the interior of every room, and they just stored them. Proper documentation of pre-claim the condition.
Okay, so let's go back to pre-claim. And I'm not trying to cut you off. Cole, I'm seriously not. I'm just seriously interested about this. So pre-claim, claim photos. So would you suggest, and this is a legitimate question, would you suggest that people go out and once they move into their home and the property is closed, or prior to the property closed, because you can do a pre-walkthrough, right? So you go through and you video and you photograph every aspect of that home to like down to the nitty gritty, right? Now you have photographic video evidence of something that was or was not there. Is that what you're suggesting?
Let me give you an example of where this was a huge, this really helped. We had a property investor, this was in northern Indiana, and he had a tenant that he thought he was leasing to that had subleased, so she leased it to somebody else. So he was leasing to somebody who leased it to somebody else, and he figured it out. And these people were tweaking out. They were beyond on drugs. And this happens. You lease a property out. You don't know the people that well, and they end up destroying your property.
Yeah.
He had really great photo documentation of everything. They had just refinished the floors. They put in new countertops. They painted all the walls. So he filed a claim. This is a really difficult claim to work, and I'll kind of explain why. But he filed a claim for vandalism damage from
The owner.
The owner. Yeah, sorry. He, the owner of the property, the investor, the owner, filed a claim against his insurance company with the for vandalism, and the insurance company originally said, well, we're not going to pay for this. It's just yet a tenant. It's wear and tear. So he had to prove that it was intentional. They said mischievous, which back to the it wasn't defined as mischievous in the policy. So he had to prove that it was intentional and not wear and tear, which his photos really came in handy from showing where they had like for some reason, like moved furniture on the floor. And scratched this new the finish that he had. They had taken knives and scraped across the countertop.
This wasn't wear and tear. Like this was,
no, it was very,
yeah,
it was intentional.
Yeah.
Well, technically it's wear and tear, but just not wear and tear in the typical sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they had filled the basement with trash instead of taking it out. It was just beyond. So we were able to establish coverage because of his initial photos showing the condition of the property that were time stamped before he leased it out. Yeah. So it does happen. And it makes all the difference. So that's something that you can be proactive about. And I mentioned other items like having resources with contractors, but the biggest is pre-loss documentation. If you're not going to read your policy, at least take photos of the property.
So would photos or video be more effective?
I think both. They both do different, aspects. In this claim that we worked, the detail of photos that he had really helped us. He had some like close-ups of the countertop. He was taking these because he was a craftsman and just proud of his work. He finished a floor. It was probably his first one. He thought it was cool, so he took photos. Not for pre-loss, but it worked out to serve him in that way.
Photos, documenting, video. We went through a lawsuit a few years ago with Cole's, with a ranch up here that had a lot of neglect in their construction of their property, and one of those automatic slamming doors slammed on my daughter's finger and whacked it off.
Really? What?
Took it off,
what?
like at the pinky. Wow. Like I watched her finger on the ground with my purple nail polish I just made and went, oh my God, Anyway, but we sued them later. And that really was everything. Having the photos, having the documentation. I even videoed the door closing it so that they could see how it became a chopping block, not just, a convenient door, And this was a pet door, by the way.
Wait. Your daughter literally is missing a chunk of one of her fingers?
Yeah. Well,
get the shit out of here.
Back, but this was at the age of 4 where we could say, hey, we don't know if she was supposed to be a massive, like amazing piano player. Okay. We don't know.
Oh my God.
Now it did grow. She's actually healed beautifully, but she has a nice, annuity growing for her. But
the fact of the matter is that your daughter's finger got cut the fuck off in a door.
Yeah. And a very
let's not skip past that topic.
Problems. Yeah.
That is fucking insane.
Yeah.
And so what happened with the insurance company then?
Yeah. So we sued them. And we won. Yeah, we won. And the money's sitting for my daughter in an account waiting for her when she's ever new to. And my daughter got I have another one who got a horrible infection from a pedicure that she went to with her dad, of all people. And she got a horrible infection. Well, it was videos, it was pictures, this is the way it looked before. This is the way it looked before. I mean, I'm just telling you, documentation is vital. If you can I'm not one of those people that has a dash cam or anything like that, but I've really been thinking about it lately because just if that's all you have sometimes, is
Yeah,
your
that's
word
true.
against them. But if you've got something, so like just don't be embarrassed, don't be scared to bring out the camera, to time block it, to say, turn on. Do you have a camera? Do you have a camera? Turn it on. Turn it on.
Well,
Send
listen,
it to me.
I'm a new
Now-
dad. Now I'm thinking that I'm probably never going to take my daughter to get a pedicure.
Oh gosh, we'll never will. Yeah.
So, Cole, let me ask you something here, and Alyssa, I want you to hear about this. I mean, you actually know this story. So, my girlfriend, I'm like, well, soon to be ex complex that I lived in for 10 years. There was no confrontation. Another younger gal here in the complex was offended by the way my girlfriend was driving, aka this is a 5-mile-an-hour zone, so there's like ain't nobody moving fast. So my girlfriend cuts around her. Long story short, the girl is walking a dog. She took the dog's poop, wiped over my Jackie's car. Right now, she admitted it online with her license plate, color, and make of vehicle, describing a fake, interaction. Then we go to the police. The police and the community director would not press charges. And here's where I'm going with this, because there wasn't video evidence of it taking place. So in regards to property management and property protection, your biggest ally, and there's a guy who's very politically centric. He's one way or the other way. I'm not going to say his name, but he videos himself all the time because he says that's my biggest protection. So would you advise, homeowners, property investors, to video literally the interactions? Would you go with the new Google glasses with the videos in the glasses with the audio there? I mean, how would you advise future people in 2024 to protect themselves on video for their investment sake?
I actually think those glasses are super cool.
I do too.
I'm more interested in the ones from Apple. They're coming anyways.
Yeah, me too.
Rabbit hole. But no, I think it's good. There are, depending on where you're at in the country, there are different laws around recording, and most homeowners do have the right to, not legal advice, but do have the right to document on their own property. But phone calls, stuff like that, you should consult with an attorney on if you have the right to do that. And but especially so you picked out a couple things. I was more referencing before a loss occurs, getting documentation for the condition of your property, roof system, exterior, interior. But more importantly, after a loss occurs, after you have a fire, water damage, the most important, and we've ran into this recently, but the most important thing you can do is document everything. And if it's not in writing, it didn't happen, especially with the insurance company. The adjuster told me he's going to pay for this, but then he went back to his manager. He said he's not going to pay for it now, just because the guy didn't have authority, not because he was being egregious. But so if it's not in writing, it didn't happen. And then documenting everything. We actually had an investor who had a pipe burst at a property. This was a Notre Dame dorm that we assisted with, which is it was a cool project for us. But he had a property manager that was taking lead on it. Went ahead, coordinated contractors, didn't really take any photos. They replaced all the windows, and we had no way to prove it. So as a property owner, there's something called the burden of proof. You have, as a property owner, the burden of proving the loss, which means you have to document it. You have to have proof of it. And we've even ran into issues with fires where items were burnt and the insurance company says, well, do you have receipts? We're like, no, the entire house burnt. What are you talking about? But it does get to that point where if you don't have documentation, there's potential you run into issues and will not receive compensation for large expenditures like replacing every window. And these were wood windows. They were older, so they swelled because of the moisture, humidity. So
having that backup. I was going to say that the police officer thing, there's many times when I tell people once they know they have received identity theft or whatever the case, I say, go get a police, file a police report. And they'll go, for why? They're not going to do anything. It's not even about them doing anything. It's a very legal piece of documentation that everybody going forward, if 10 years from now, somebody says, did you open this card? you have documentation to show you've experienced that you had this happen before. Same thing with, even in a relationship. If he hits you one time, I'm sorry to say this like in this way, but it's like if something happens, and you don't document it, guess what? The next time, the first time didn't count. Technically, I know this is the 50th time that he's done this to you, but how many times have you documented? You haven't? You got nothing. Document.
Yeah, documentation is absolutely 100% key. And that's something that and Cole, I want you to get the final word in here, but I think documentation, a lot of real estate agents, including myself, have been poor at doing that because we go on the assumption that everybody is there to help you. In reality, it's kind of looking the opposite direction. And with the stories and the information that you're sharing, I mean, this is my point, and Cole, I want you to give your point, of course. And Alyssa, naturally, you can always chime in. But I mean, I would say video everything you possibly can. I had an incident with a property that I had listed last year, and someone started construction in the middle of my escrow on a property for half a day with the homeowner's son still there. They walk away. Long story short, I found the people who did it. They denied it, but I didn't have video evidence, even though I tried to prove it. And if I had found it, I would have prosecuted it against them, but I didn't have it, so I couldn't move forward. So I would absolutely encourage everybody to video everything front and back in regards to before and after of a property sale, listing, everything. Just video everything, record everything so that you know what you're talking about. So Cole, give me your thoughts.
Yeah. Well, first, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity on here. We're happy our goal is just to share. These are common issues we run into on a day-to-day basis with the clients we serve. So hopefully some takeaways from our goal of what we're trying to share is do the prep work, spend time to review your policy. If it's not something that's your forte, seek professional assistance. Reach out to a public adjuster, schedule time with your agent or your broker, and go through your policy and your declarations page and your exclusions and your endorsements and all of the coverage that's applied by your policy. It's worth the time spent. Document your property before a loss occurs, and when you do have a loss, document even more. Every part of the process. We're happy to be a resource. We currently work in like 27 states. California is actually our 28th. I was
nice.
So we're pretty excited for that as a firm, and happy to be.
I'm glad you're here in California, man. Shit, you're gonna make this place a little bit less shitty. So
yeah,
that's awesome.
Doing our part.
Alyssa, give us your takeaways.
Yeah, my biggest one is what you had mentioned earlier, Greg, about how when you think of insurance, you think of security. And I had, as a female, I have a problem with the word security. It's about beginning real with yourself. That is, that security kind of makes you almost, fall asleep in the passenger side and go, he's good, he's got me, we're good, versus understanding that insurance is a layer of protection. It's a layer. It's like a little extra guy. It's not going to defend you and completely provide security. It's only going to be as good as when you actually need it. And so it's almost like insurance. You have to pay it. Most states are going to require it in one way or another. It's not a bad idea to dive in, really know what you're getting. Don't be afraid to pay a little bit more for you to have the right coverage, and really seek out the professionals that you can surround yourself with so you don't have to be great at everything. Create that financial dream team and ask questions, and use ChatGPT. I don't even know what questions to ask my insurance agent. Chad, what are 10 questions I should ask them that I wouldn't know to ask, but that could really hurt me in the end? Boom.
Bam.
So utilizing your resources. That's it.
That's
I love that,
phenomenal,
Cole.
guys.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, dude. Cole, thank you, guys. I mean, what an insightful conversation. We've been talking for about an hour on air, and I have literal
I know.
notes. You guys can't see it, but I have timestamp notes of kind of where really things kind of picked up for me. And I think there's been amazing insights in this conversation. Cole, I want to thank you again for coming on the show. And I just want to promote you as much as possible. Where can people find you? How can people get in contact with you? I mean, now you're a part of my state, the great state of California. And so where can people just, get into your ecosphere?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're online. We've got a website, hopepublicadjusters.com, and we're on all the social platforms. We're really big on Facebook. We post a lot of the cool projects that we are working on, clients that we're serving, all the states that we're getting windshield time in. And so social, any social platform you'll find us on, and our website's a good resource to get information. Even if you don't use our services, check it out. And there's a lot of helpful downloads and just tools for investors and consumers.
Okay. Do you have any events or any kind of things that are coming up people can get a part of, or just should people go to the website and kind of get engaged with you there?
Yeah, the website's the best place to reach us. For anybody for anybody that needs assistance, advice, our website's the place to go.
All right. Go to the website, guys. That is Cole Klein. He is absolutely insanely smart and awesome, by the way. So follow him, reach out to him, get involved with him. Alyssa Glutz, Color My Credit, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Man, this bitch, she got like over 500,000 followers and growing on multiple different networks. And that's just on one network. So Alyssa, where can people learn all about credit and who you are?
Well, those places. Also, Monday and Friday are my regular live TikTok from 11 to noon Arizona time. So you can come in live, ask questions, and get answers. And you can find me all through colormycredit.com.
There it is, boys and girls. Thank you so much for your time. This has been an amazing show. I have learned a ton. I have written down a ton of notes. I hope you guys did as well. We'll be coming back with our next show next week. Thank you, 2024. We are going to crush skulls and kick ass like nobody's fucking business. So we love you. We cannot do it without you. Cole, you are a legend, my friend. Thank you for coming on. Alyssa, you're the most beautiful co-host I could ever ask for, and intelligent and awesome.
Thank you. I love you. Thank you. You're great.
I love you too. And we will see you guys on the next one. Until then, peace out, ninjas. We gone.